Hey everyone, we're BulletWhale Games, a small indie game dev studio from the Netherlands. We're currently working on our first game, an FPS roguelite called Project Mayhem. In this video we'll discuss what our game is, how we made an FPS prototype from scratch, and finally show you the result of a week of hard work. But first we'll shortly introduce ourselves. My name is Arjen and next to me is Job. Together we founded BulletWhale Games. It's been our dream to make games for a very long time and we decided to take the leap. So I quit my job and Job is about to graduate. We raked together our savings and started this September. The coming year we'll be starving, living in poverty, and above and beyond we'll be working on an FPS with co-op and roguelike elements. We're gonna focus on a more classical shooter approach akin to something like Doom. The goal is to make satisfying combat that is visceral and involved. Think weird guns and over-the-top action. We're gonna experiment a little bit with things like physics and see how that works out. But for now we'll first have to focus on the core combat loop and iteratively expand the game. We have a lot of ideas for the roguelike aspects as well, but we don't want to oversell those yet. They have to fit in with the combat, so they'll follow in a later video. What we can tell you is that we're huge fans of Risk of Rain and Dead Cells, and it would be great if we could capture those games' sense of progression. For this game we'll be using the Unity game engine together with a high definition render pipeline. We've chosen this engine as we've gotten quite familiar with it in the previous years, and we've also have a lot of experience with C#. We considered Unreal for a while, but it just didn't click for us. We have to relearn a lot of stuff, which isn't worth the time and effort for us right now. The first thing we had to figure out is how to go about movement. We went over the options in Unity and decided to go with a physics-based approach. It's a lot of fun to see all kinds of props react on how you move around in the world, and we really want to capture this in the game. The current movement options are super simple. You can move and jump a lot. There's a few little bugs here, but we'll fix them in the upcoming patch. Eventually we'll want to move to a more arcade shooter system, but for our current purposes this is fine. A nice thing to mention is that we're using an asset called Rewire. It's an asset used for input handling, which will make controller integrations a lot easier in the future. Next we had to add a gun to our game. We took a model that I previously made in Blender, and though it doesn't look good, we're using that for now. Then we made it shoot, but spawning a projectile doesn't feel that great, so we had to add more to it. We added some particles, sound, gun animation, screen bop, and finally screen shake. It's super cool how much these small components add to the feel of the gun. We're not done with it yet, but for now we're pretty happy with it and we'll keep improving it over the duration of this project. Every shooter needs something to shoot, so our next task was to create an enemy. We've quickly imported the placeholder model from Mixamo and added some animations to him using the Unity standard assets. We then created some AI for the enemy using Unity NavMesh and Node Canvas. Currently the enemy will run at you and try to attack you. He can kill you, which is cool, but there isn't any UI to show you that yet, so that's something that we'll have to work on in the future. Finally, it was time to create a map to put it all together. We used one of the rune trials in Doom 2016 as a reference. The maps in Doom are designed to force the player and enemies to move around by breaking line of sight, making the gameplay a lot more active, which is great. So we're using this map to learn from how it's been designed. The map functions okay, but it feels a bit too small for what we're doing, so we'll have to go over this and change it in the future. Next week we'll finish the prototype loop and start working on some early netcode. It's good to have netcode in your project as early as possible because it will make writing the rest of the code a lot easier. We're very new to video editing and YouTube, so be sure to let us know in the comments how we can improve these videos and what parts of development you're interested in. That's all for this week. Please like, subscribe and join our Discord channel, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.